Good afternoon. My name is Dan Turner, and I am head of programming and outreach for the Georgetown County Library. It's wonderful to see you here today. Come on in. Welcome in, and this is Shared Traditions. It's been a terrific series so far, and we're continuing this. We've got, after today, 3 more weeks, so I hope you'll continue to come in May as we just keep going. We spring into spring as the weather gets beautiful outside. It keeps on coming. We get beautiful weather inside, thanks to wonderful speakers like the one we have today. But this is Shared Tradition is exploring the enrichment of American life through African American cultural experiences, and especially we've been focusing in on the Low Country and even Georgetown County in particular. And today we have a representative of, well, I guess all those things, but this project was made possible by a generous Library Services and Technology Act grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, administered by the South Carolina State Library. So we're grateful to them for making this happen, and we can bring in folks like Kevin A. Wade Sr. He's had many distinctive experiences, but he retired as the first African-American police chief at the Georgetown Police Department. He serves now as community engagement director for the city of Myrtle Beach, so he moved up 17 a little bit, but he's still not far away. But he's going to share some of his formative experiences that he recorded in his recent memoir, Favored from Last to First. And he will have books available. He's happy to sign and personalize those afterwards. So if you don't have a copy of that, well worth picking one up today. But please help me welcome in Kevin Wade.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
I know we can do better. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Good. Listen, I had my little notes. I had my little notes I was going to talk from in my little script. But I'm not feeling it. I'm just going to talk. Is that okay?
Please. That's right.
Cool. So let me ask you this. And I do not have to stand there the whole time.
No, you don't.
Good. When you hear the word favored, and it's just for anybody, you know, you can raise your hand. Just, when you hear the word favored, what comes to mind?
Not deserved.
You said, say it again.
Not deserved.
Not just, okay. Very good. What else?
Chief, I think of the Bible verse that says, if you're married to a good spouse, you obtain favor from the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah, we went over that.
She reminded me. No. What else?
Favorite to me is blessed.
Blessed.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? My good friend in the back row smiling. I know you got something. I know you got something to say. What is favor? What does it mean to you?
Grateful for all the blessings God has given to us.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Chosen. Chosen. I'm not paying you.
Oh.
But elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Again, I hear a lot of biblical things like being favored by God and by man.
Okay.
You know, you can just be favored by man and get your praise.
Mhm.
That's it. Be favored by God too.
Okay. Anybody else? You smile. You can say it. What's it mean to you?
I think my favorite thing to me is that you don't deserve something, but that by God's grace and mercy gave to you.
Yeah. So, Ms. Wicks, you want me, what does it mean to you? The word favor.
I think it's
to her point, when I think of it, it's uncommon or something that we don't really expect, but because of God's grace and mercy, it's something that's just overcome us.
Okay, awesome. Good evening, ma'am. How you doing?
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Welcome. And so officially, I know Dr. Dan is what I call him, introduced me, but my name's Kevin Wicks. Anybody that knows me well, or you look at my name, you see a L, right? You want to call me Kelvin. But anybody that really knows me well knows that my mom decided she wanted the L in my name to be silent, so it's pronounced Kevin. I've been dealing with that my whole life. Kelvin, but she wanted it to be silent, so it is pronounced Kevin. But currently, like you said, I'm the director of the community engagement for the city of Myrtle Beach. And in my previous life, I was a police chief here for the city of Georgetown, as well as the Horry County Police Department prior to that. I spent most of my adult life serving. I was in the United States Army in the military intelligence field, and I copied Morse code. Anybody know what Morse code is? I copied Morse code. Dits and does, right? Morse code. And so I am honored to even be a part of this series. When they reached out, I said, absolutely, I'd be honored to be here. And even though I work in Myrtle Beach, I still live in Dunbar, South Carolina, in Browns Ferry. I still live in Browns Ferry. I commute every day. And but yeah, I do work in the city of Myrtle Beach now. So, and thank you for sharing what favorite means to you. Now, I didn't realize for myself, and I'm being totally transparent, what that word meant probably until about a couple of years ago. You know how, you ever heard somebody talk about when you're in the movie, it's different as opposed to you watching the movie? I think I was in the movie. I was working and hustling and bustling, and I didn't quite understand what favorite meant, right? And so about 2 years ago, I'm not one to like just constantly read the Bible and pound it, but I was reading. And I came across a scripture that wouldn't leave me alone. Would not leave me alone. And the scripture was Matthew 20:16. And it says, so the first will be last and the last will be first. Many are called, but few are chosen. And when I heard that, when I read it, it was like, that's how they be. That's how they be. And I couldn't let it go. I could not let it go. And before I even said anything out loud to anybody, I'm like, okay, I gotta write this book. And it's gonna be titled Favored from Last to First, right? And so I go back, in 2014 I wrote my first book. It was titled Hit 'Em Before They Get You. 2021 I wrote my second book. It was titled Never Have a Bad Day. And I said to myself, man, I'm tired of writing books. I'm not writing this book. I'm tired of writing books because, hey friend, come on in. Because, when you write, and I encourage everybody to tell a story. If you got a story, tell us. Even if you don't write a book, tell your story, because your story can help deliver other people. Wow. And so I'm like, man, but when in telling your story and writing a book, you have to know that you open it up to the world, right? And when I wrote my first book, it was titled Hit 'Em Before They Get You, like I told you. And I wrote about, I know we're here to talk about faith, and I'm going to get here, but I want to help you understand. When I wrote that first book, there was a passage I talked about where my dad, my older brother, and I, we were in Harlem, New York, where I grew up. And we were sitting there one morning, and my dad made breakfast for us, right? He had these famous pancakes. You could only eat one. They were so big. But he would make them, hey, get some more. You could only eat one. And we're sitting there, and everything's cool, and all of a sudden, my dad started crying. I had never seen, I'm a kid, I had never seen my dad cry, right? My older brother, 6 years older than me, so I'm sitting there, I saw my dad cry. What do you think I started doing? Crying. I started crying. I didn't know what was going on. So I started crying. My older brother said, hey, Daddy, you all right? Calm down. What's wrong? So he got a big cry out. And what happened was, hey friend, how you doing? What happened was, when my dad finally calmed down, my brother said, what's wrong? My dad said, I'm just happy. I said, I'm just happy. He was sitting there with his sons, he made them breakfast, he was just happy, right? Now, that's what I wrote. That's the passage I wrote in my first book. And so, I sent everything in, and I think I'm finished with the book. And my editor says, Kevin, there's something missing. I said, what do you mean? There's something missing. I'm reading your book, and I get to this passage about you and your dad and your brother in Harlem, and he's made breakfast, and he starts crying, and he says, I'm just happy, and then you move on and start talking about something else. She said, something is missing. So, something was missing. And I was ashamed to say it out loud. And so I kept that part out of the story. And I learned a very valuable lesson from my editor that day. She said to me, she said, I don't know what it is, but you can't tell a story without telling a story. I never forgot that. You cannot tell a story without telling a story. Because people will recognize it, and they will see, just like you go from one scene in the movie to the next, something will be missing. She said, so if you want your reader to really embrace what you're trying to get done, you got to tell it. You can't tell a story without telling a story. And so I had to go back, and I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to say that the reason my dad was so happy that morning, fellowshipping with his sons, making his breakfast, was because he didn't have that relationship with his dad. I left that out because I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to tell the whole story, but I had to go back and tell it. And his biological dad lived 2 miles down the street on Jones Island in South Carolina, down in Charleston County, with an entirely different family. He would see him in public. They couldn't talk. And when I finally met my granddad as a grown man, my daddy introduced me. He said, hey, Doc, is what they call him. This is your grandson. And so when we were in New York, we were sitting at that table, and he made breakfast for his sons. He experienced and felt something that he never felt. And it was overwhelming. And so the point is, you can't tell a story without telling a story. Repeat that after me. You can't tell a story.
You can't tell a story
Without telling a story.
without telling a story.
Okay, so that was him praying you. So, and I wanted to really, but that is why I said to myself, no, I'm not writing the books. I'm done. Because I know what it takes to tell a story. You see what I'm saying? And once you put it out there, guess what?
Exactly.
You can't bring it back. You can't bring it back. And so I'm talking to my wife, and I told her. She's sitting there, she just looking, just like, she's always calm. She's just sitting there looking at me. And I said, man, we went probably for about a week. Can I write the book? I said, nah, man, I'm good. I'm not ready. I'm done. She says, Kevin, let me ask you something. She said, let me tell you something. The book is about you, but it's really not about you. That's what she said. The book is about you, but it's really not about you. And when she said it, I was like, you're right. The book is about hope. The book is about resilience. The book is about, at some point, feeling in your life that you were in the last place. Anybody ever been there?
Yes.
2 people in this whole room felt like in your lifetime you've been in last place. No, I'm being totally honest. Okay, we've all been there, right?
Yes.
And so that is what the book is about. Look back there at that book cover, right? And you see it again later, but I often ask people, when you look at it, what do you see? When you look at it, what do you see? Right? And so I wrote the book, and based on that scripture, so the first will be last, and the last will be first. Many are called, but few are chosen. So like I said, it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I really understood what the word favorite meant. And so for me, again, my life started in Harlem, New York. I was born born there. I lived there with my parents and my older brother Brian. And we lived on the 14th floor of the St. Nicholas Apartments in the projects. That's where we lived. You familiar with that area?
Yeah, New York.
Okay. That's where we grew up. And I tell people that my kids used to laugh at me, but I tell people that I wore leg braces before Forrest Gump wore them in the movie. I wore those. I wore them. And I had chronic asthma, right? I was a sickly little fella. And I wasn't as athletic as the other kids. I couldn't do what the other kids did. And the highlight of my day, we went to Catholic school. The highlight of my day was when we were walking home, and whether or not a sign was on the elevator saying out of order or not. That was the highlight of my day. Right? And I can promise you that 4 out of the 5 days we went to school, the elevator wasn't working. Right? And so here go me and my brother, he could run, but here we go up the steps. But in walking, maneuvering those steps, there was people in there shooting up, getting high. There were people in there having sex. There was a lot of stuff going on. And I would often walk, have an asthma attack right there in the stairwell because it's damp, it's dry, it's dusty. My brother would say, "Hey man, come on, keep walking, don't stop. I don't care how slow you have to walk, don't you stop." I would cry, my legs would cramp up. But that was the highlight of the day, right? Now, I don't tell you that to feel sorry. I'm telling you because I can't tell the story without telling the story. That's what happened. That's how it started for me. And so, when we didn't realize that we were poor, we had each other, we had love, we had God. We didn't realize it, but and at nighttime, and I talk about this in the book. At nighttime, we could look out our window and see the blue letters from the old Yankee Stadium, right? And my older brother, we would look out there and we always talk about going to the game. We knew we'd never make it to the game there. But my older brother would act like a commentator. Anybody remember Fred Cosell? Right? He had that commentating voice like that. He would talk to Muhammad Ali. And, you know what I'm saying? Howard Cosell was his name. And so my older brother would imitate Howard Cosell, right? And he would be commentating the game, a baseball game, like we were in Yankee Stadium, but the only thing we had to reference was the rats and the roaches. So it wasn't the Red Sox playing the Yankees, it wasn't, but he told it in a way that made it fit for us. He told it in a way that we could understand and relate. He told it in a way that helped us survive the situation. That's how it started for me, right? And so, at that point in my life, I didn't think I was going to amount to anything. I didn't think I was going to be nobody. I didn't think I was going to live to be 20. And God is good. God is good. And so, something happened. One day, we were on our way home from school. Somebody followed me and my brother and tried to break into the apartment, right? And I held the door, crazy. I held the door, crooked legs, asthma, grown man trying to get in. My brother ran in the kitchen, got a knife, cut the gentleman on his hand, he pulled his hand back. We closed the door. How did I hold the door? Small. Grown man. Was it meant for him to get in there? No. But I was able to hold the door. Right? And I told you 2 years ago, I realized what favor was. You think that was favor?
Yes.
All right, so we'll keep going. So my parents come home, we told the story, and they were like, okay, we got to get these kids out of the city. And so my parents, I owe them everything because my mom worked at Beekman Hospital, and my dad was a mechanic, and they gave me big jobs, they saved up money, and they moved us to the house my mom still lives in today in Charleston, South Carolina. And so after that happened, things started to turn around a little bit. I had worn the leg braces. As long as my legs weren't going to get no straighter, right? So I didn't wear them. And because of the climate change, my asthma kind of cleared up, right? And so I started to do other things that other kids were able to do. I realized I was athletic, started playing football. And I remember the first year, I went out and I told my parents, I said, hey, I want to play football. My mom said, I said, why? Because, you had those braces on, you got asthma. They just thought I was really, really fragile. And all my friends in the neighborhood, they were playing organized sports. I begged. Nope, you're not playing. My dad finally said, Francis, that's my mom's name. Francis, give the boy a chance. Give the boy a chance. And they said to me, if you roll your ankle, you done. You are done, right? So they gave me a chance. I go out there, I remember the day, I'm waiting for my dad, I'm sitting at the head of the driveway. I got all my pads on, it's 90-something degrees, I'm already sweating out before I even go to practice. He gets off early from work, picks me up, and he takes me to the football field, right? Can you be, I need you. Takes me to the football field. I'm putting you on the spot here. So we get to the football field, and my dad's driving, act like he's driving. All right. We get to the field, we stop, and my dad gets out, act like he gets out.
Okay, he didn't press the brakes or nothing.
It's okay. It's okay. So you drove me there, you stopped the car, start walking like the football field's over there. Okay, just start walking. I'll tell you when to stop. Let's keep going. All right, so stop. At that point, my dad looked back and realized that I was still in the car. I didn't get out of the car. Wow. Why do you think? I was scared. I was scared. Everything, you can sit down. Didn't he do a good job of that? So stop. I was scared. At that point, my dad looked back and realized. Flashback to my mind, right? I started thinking about things. I didn't get out of the car. I started thinking about asthma. I started thinking about being bullied. I was scared, you know what I'm saying? And so everything, you can sit down. Didn't you do a good job of that? So I was scared. Everything I had envisioned through up to that point, it would flash back in my mind, right? I started thinking about the legs being crooked. I started thinking about asthma. I started thinking about being bullied because I couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And so, man, I'm looking at him. We get to the field and he says something, but before I tell you what he said, why do you think he would look at me? So he talked me, he got me out of the car, and we're walking, I said, party, right? We're walking together. Anybody else? I keep looking at him. You looking at him. Something not look at him. I kept looking at him. Most dads give their son a get to the field and he says something, but before I tell you what he said, why do you think he would look at me? Because my dad only had a 6th grade education. He quit school as a forest fire. He didn't go to work. Anybody else? He never played any organized sports. He never went to prom. When he was 12 years old, he became a man. Right? And so most dads give their son advice. Whether it's baseball, football, track, hockey, whatever. Now, did he tell me this? No. I figured this out for myself years later as I backtracked at a house fire. But he would never look at me. So we get to the end of the field. We're here. The field's right there. When he was 12 years old, he became a man. And so he knew absolutely nothing. That's what he said. Now, did he tell me this? That's what he said. No. I figured this out for myself years later as I backtracked. But he was never looking. So we get to the end of the field. Right. I'm here. The field's right there. He says, shelter. He feeds me. Just tightens me up if I need to be tightened up. That's what he said. That's what he said. Days after that, the very first book I wrote was surrounding that story. And so, I'm a young kid, right? I'm a young my dad. First time playing football. That's what I realized later on, I looked at my dad. It wasn't even so. I went out that day. And days after that, that's why I said, hit it before he hit you in life. And I was depression before he hit you. Football, hit alcoholism, hit alcohol. My first time playing football, I realized that so when he said, hit him before he hit you, it unlocked something. It was my life. And I realized that, you know what, I'm no longer just a tail. I can hit alcoholism and realize that's the point. And so fast forward, I end up going to proactive life. Newberry College, upstate, got to do South Carolina on football. So he said, before they hit you, and
It like unlocks.
walked up to her at a party.
And I realized that,
Now,
what,
first of all,
I'm no longer,
you can
just
tell.
tell, I can be ahead. I realized that at that point. So fast forward, I go on, I end up going
I
to
had it going on.
Newberry College, upstate.
I walk up to her at a party and I said, hey.
She said,
Hey.
And
I said, walked up to her at a party, want to dance? Now, first of all, am I telling the truth? Am I telling the truth? How you doing? Am I telling the truth? That's what she says, nope. I walk up to her party and I said, hey. I said, why? She said, hey. She said, because I have a boyfriend. Straight face. I said, you want to dance? And am I telling the truth? Am I telling the truth? Am I telling the truth? That's what I'm saying. She said, nope. She said, I said, why? That's what happened. And when I said that. And so, she said, yeah. So we, took me a while, that's what happened. So she, 31 years later, we were just friends. And so, honestly, like,
Yes.
yes, my brother. I tried, I was slippery.
So we,
it took me a while after. For my God's plan, we were just friends. We would hang out. So we came together. When I went to college, Newberry College, I didn't have my honestly like, and I just was like, this is my brother. I would slip every day and try to hold her hand. And it took me a while for my plan, God's plan, to come together. So it came together. When I went to college, Newberry College, I didn't have my priorities. I said, married, if you're going to do it, make sure you got married. It's off to Germany, we went. I was there, in my mind, I was there to play football. Her mom, they party. I was immature, I was young, I didn't get my opportunity. I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I need to go in the country. Right? And we're at the hospital, we had a German hospital. And the German nurse was asking her what the word was, but she was trying to tell her it was. Married, and it was in German. Like nobody, we were all, and we had to grow up. We had to grow up. We had to grow up fast. We had to lean on each other, and depend on each other. My dad got sick. We love Germany, right? And we were at the hospital. We had a German hospital. And the German nurse was asking her what the word was, but she was trying to tell me it was. And it was in German. Like nobody, we were all, we had to grow up. We had to grow up. And I started on the sheriff's office. My dad got sick. I started to realize we love Germany. But I decided to get us an army. When I came back, when I started calling. Anybody know Lane Crick? Just anybody can just walk up and say, Lane Crick gave me my first job. It is a call. Lane Crick. He hired me. It is a call. And I started out doing something at the sheriff's office. And that's when I started to realize progress. It was hard. I remember I was telling my friends earlier, 7 years, it's all I did was work. You can't just, anybody can't just walk up and say, it is a cause, like doctors between here, preachers and Marion, it is a cause. So I realized sometimes I would get home, what I was supposed to be, my career started to progress, when it was hard. I remember I was telling my friends earlier, for about 7 years, all I did was work, we were busy in drugs. It was hard, all over between but we made it, right? And sometimes I would get home, we go, I started to realize, okay, 5:30, 6 o'clock. Anybody know who Ray Henry is? Yeah, Ray Henry. Okay, state senator, right? Or Ray Henry used to miss each other, solicitor, and I worked for him. I was like investigating. It was hard. It was hard. We were working on the murder case, but we made it, right? And we finished. On we go. He says, where can I started to realize, okay, that's a red line. Anybody know who Ray Henry is? That's Ray Henry. State senator. He said, okay, we're working on the murder case. He says, girls, I remember like it was yesterday. This is saying that she calls quick rap. That's where we went. So we're sitting in the bar, He's got his glass of red wine. I have a, he said orange slice. I remember like it was just to a place in so we're sitting there, and he says to me, Kevin, that's where we went. That's where we went. So we're sitting in the bar. He's got his glass of red wine. I have a, I'm like, you know something? I don't know. It's fire. And he said, no, you're not going to be orange slice. You, right? I remember like it was yesterday. And so we're sitting there, and he's just talking, small talk. And he says to me, Kevin, wasn't inspired about it. All I wanted to do was leave me alone. And I was surprised. My job, I didn't have to explain it. Like, you know something? I don't know. You about to fire me? And he said, no, you're not going to be with me long because I never thought about it until he said it. I'm like, okay. Never thought about it. Wasn't inspired about it. See something. All I wanted to do, he said, my job. And so things progressed. I leave the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office because I never thought about FBI. He said, Paul Gardner, hey, you think that was fake? I'm here in Georgetown Police Department. You can see something. It's his words. He said, haven't always. And so things progressed. I leave the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office because former FBI agent Paul Gardner says to me, hey, and so I left here in the Georgetown Police Department as a lieutenant. His words went to the police department. We haven't always been friendly to the community. I've been on the list to go to in terms of just being friendly and in terms of for about 10 years. I left the company, right? I'm there. I get a call one day, hey, you ready to go? And so I left the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office as a so I go to FBI National Police Department as a graduate of the FBI National Academy. I had been on the list to go to FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia, to come back in years. And I get a call from Horry County. I get a call one day, hey, now you're ready to become the police chief. Okay. And so I go to the FBI National Academy. I graduated from the FBI National Academy. I call my name on. And so I'm back by it. And I took a call from Horry. Now I took the job. My current chief saying to me, I've been on the police chief, I'm looking to be the chief of the police department. You call that favor? Yeah. One of my best friends, bring about it out. He said, hey, I'm gonna just keep it. He said, man, you don't know the man. I took the job. Man, I didn't know you had. Stay here. And I took the job. I'm good because in my mind, I prayed about it. In my mind, I had a peace over the situation. And I said, if I had one of my best friends, he fell out. He said, hey, I'm just keep real. I said, man, you don't know what you over there? They're not even where you at. You don't know the folks. And I took the job. Because in my mind, I prayed about it one time. In my mind, I had a peace over the situation. And I said, if 10 minutes. Man, I ain't halfway through the story. So, I'll read that. I go to Horry County. Great experience, Lord. I just want to tell you that. Great experience. 10 minutes. Man, I ain't halfway through the story. So, I'll tell you that. I go to Horry County. Great experience, larger department, about 350 officers. Great experience. So, I'm there. 90 days go by. We're doing some things we hadn't done before. Everything's great, it's good. My county administrator called me and said, hey, and guess who comes? You got to turn the way. He said, what mean this thing official? You had just been interim status. Let's go ahead and make it official. You're good with that? So, I'm there. 90 days go by. The plan was we started, at that point, we didn't get to start talking about. Finally, the county administrator calls me and says, hey, the county administrator, I was going to be police chief here. I had to listen. Let's go ahead and make this thing official. And so we're doing that interim status. Let's go ahead and make it official. I get a call. Good with that? I said, yeah, everybody's happy. Everybody's good. Let's do it. The next plan was we started, at that point, we had to start talking. Finally, the department of are you into the county? I'm going to this guy. so we're doing that. I said, this can't be the next week. And so from the city of Georgetown, I'm like, you know, the next week, right? Hey, you know, and so I'm tired. Ultimately, I decided, are you interested? I'm in love with this guy. I was great about it. And so I'm like, you know, and it was funny. Right. And I prayed about it. And so I'm driving ultimately I decided the color of my wife's pants. Top. Because when I prayed, so I dreamed this one. I get in, I do everything I do every morning. I back out, I pull out of my driveway, and cut everybody. And you know, I used to drive a tan colored. So I get out and I'm looking for pants. You know, trying to figure out what's what. Top and hood, I don't see nothing out of what, you know. And so I dream, I'm disgusted. I stand behind, get in, I do everything I do every morning, looking at it, back out. I pull out of my driveway, it's over, it falls in the ditch, cut off. In a dream, my Tahoe just cut off. So I get out, I'm looking, trying to figure out what's what. I pop the hood, I don't see nothing out, and so I'm standing behind, I'm disgusted, right? I'm standing behind this car, like this, looking at it. My county administrator, I said, all of a sudden, it tips over and falls in the ditch. And I told him, hey, Ray, how you doing? And I told him, and he says, what? They can't pay you, like, what do you pay you? That's what he said. That I saw told me. And I said, take the job with Georgetown. And so I remember going to my county administrator and said, my vehicle. And I told him, and I told him, and so, but of course, I'm giving and we second guess. They can't pay you, but we can pay you. That's what he said. They can't pay you. So I made a decision. I'm going to school the night before, right? But after I saw in that dream, of course, I can't see my vehicle, right? First day of the job, I got me a little steady camera. So, but of course, I'm in my bed trying to reset, relax. You know, I can't sleep. I finally dozed off. Still second guess myself. So I made the decision. I'm going, everything's cool. And in the dream, the night before, I go to work. Green, of course, I can't sleep. Right? First day of the new job, I got me a little Cine camera, candle by the bed, trying to relax. You know, I can't sleep. I finally dozed off. Government name, right? They knew the L was silent. They said, this is Kevin. They said, this is Deborah Mumford. I pick up the phone, and the person says, everything has been approved. This is real. The person says, just like that. Is this Kevin? So I'm like, okay, thank you, God. I'm going in the right direction, I'm going in the right place. I show up, they knew the L was silent. This is Kevin. I sit down with a lady, this is her name is Deborah Mumford, and she's a Georgetown regular. Every Georgetown city. Wow. Just like that. Right up. So I'm like, okay, thank you, God. That was my conversation. I'm going in the right direction, I'm going in the right place. I started to work next day. The first thing I had to do was meet with HR. Dan says, I don't have insurance, so I'm going to see for all that. Paperwork. I sit down with a lady, her name is Deborah Mumford. She was like HR director for Georgetown. And my son asked me one time, he says, what's that? And I said, survive. That was my confirmation. He said, so I do what else? I said, I was in my place, you know. And I said, but in addition, Dr. Dan says, I don't have much time, so I'm going to speed it up. But something that you worked on back then. People often ask me, what would it be? Highlight your National Campaign Choir, right? And my son asked me one time, he says, what's the highlight? And I said, survive it. And he said, nah, what else? I said, no, survive it, you know. And I said, but in addition to that, for me, he said, would it be a murder case memorialized or no plaque or certificate? He said, would it be graduated from that national campaign course? He said, what would it be? I said, it would be because we also marched the city of Georgetown. There were peaceful protests and there were not so peaceful protests. A lot of drama, a lot of me. And so that's not memorialized through that whole weekend. Of course, I didn't sleep with trophy. Looking at what's going on for me. I remember that was King Street was pretty much on fire. Right? There was some drama, some tension up on the beach. We also lay here during the week out. There were peaceful protests and they were getting a call from the NAACP. A lot of drama, a lot of tension. And so I remember that whole weekend. Of course, I didn't sleep. I'm looking at what's going on in Charleston. I remember King Street was pretty much on fire. Right? Some drama, some tension up at Myrtle Beach. I'm laying here during the week out. I show up to the meetings, about to happen, right? Get a call from the NAACP, upset, Marvin Lyon, mad, Marvin Nielsen, and Kevin. And so the meeting's going on, and someone looked at me and said, hey, what do you think we should do? I said, okay. I said, I'm not here to is that favor here to make sure that everybody is safe. That's the only reason I show up to the meeting, let us know people are playing, people are being part of the process, but upset, I am here crying, mad, and so what to do. And so that meeting's going on, and someone's sitting there in a what do you think we should do? Bigger than this, but it's kind of set up this way. I'm at the podium, and we're doing a briefing, and we're talking about everything that's going on, and I had some total transparency in my command staff, process, senior staff. I am here to sort of riff. And so, of course, we had that SWAT gear, we're sitting here in a room, rifle, bigger than this, but kind of set up this way. I'm at the podium, and we're doing a briefing, and we're talking about everything that's going on, and had some and so transparent. Me and my command staff, alluding my senior staff, we had a little riff, and we needed because of course we had SWAT gear, so we shields, so rifles, and I would always say at the end of each meeting, how we're not doing that. All hearts clear. We are not inviting. This one gentleman said violence. We are not insinuating violence. We are not alluding to. No, we have it here. If we need it, we'll have a station and have it here. And so we work together. So we're doing this briefing, and I would always say at the end of each meeting, march here. All hearts clear. They marching all over the country, but why? And this one gentleman stood up. He said, "No, Chief." He said, "Listen, I don't understand why I realized people marching that was right where I'm supposed to be. This didn't happen here in town. This happened here because I don't know if someone. We do a good job here in Georgetown. Why people got to march here? Trust and believe. They marching all over the country, but why in Georgetown? Okay. And so, did we need to go out in the street with that in that moment? No, we did not. And so I said, I'm glad you asked that question. It took courage, and I know other people are thinking the same thing because I don't know if someone else would have been prepared and people can answer that question. And trust and believe, if he said it, you think other people think the same thing? Okay, and so did we need to go out the street with that? Because when I saw that, be the last thing they thought? No, we did not. And so I said, I'm glad you asked that question. It took courage, and I know other people are thinking the same way. People have to find a way to heal. People have to find a way to people are marching and make a statement that, hey, we're tired of what's going on. And people are doing it in the right way. And I said, what the hell, I'm going to support that. Because when I saw that ass, I saw my brother, I saw my son, I saw my uncle, and it hurts. People had to find a way to heal. People had to find a way to make a statement that, hey, despite of what was going on across the country, and if people are doing it in the right way, we support that, and that's why we're doing it. That is why we're going out here. And we went out, but not one. You did that? You went that march? We had a peaceful day. We went out that day, students expressed themselves, and despite of what was going on, got hurt. Despite of what was going on, despite of what was going on, so when you ask me that question, what is the greatest accomplishment of your career? I don't know who else might have been there that day. For me, not one was it, the bottom, because everything came together. We had a peaceful day. Was that favor? You got a chance to express themselves. So I'm gonna wrap things up, and I'm gonna ask questions, but my question is, it was a good day. And so going back to the 14 projects of your career, going back to my older brother saying, acting like Howard Cosell, referee the game between the Reds. So I'll wrap things up, and I'm going back to my grand question is, right? Going back to when you talk about going back to my older brother saying, acting like Howard Cosell, referee the game between the Reds and the coaches. Right? Going back to my grandmother tucking in, right? Tucking in, culture is something else. Was when you talk about if you watch TV a lot of times, what happens? The box break on TV. Cotton being placed in your ear. Cotton being placed in your nose. Why? Kiss it. Okay, the teddy bear. That was tucking in. That was like, and going back to there, if you look at that picture again, that's me now. Right? Something happened. Something happened. Cotton being placed in your ear. So, cotton being placed in your nose. Why? To feel like
And so that was life. That was life. If I'm going back to there, if you look at that picture again, that's me down there saying goodbye, right? Everybody, something happened. That is why something happened. And so, am I out of order to feel like I went from last to first? Right? And so, if I can't answer, well, I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I'm gonna ask you a question. What is the difference between being called and chosen? And that is why based on Matthew 24. So I end this, and then I'm gonna ask you one more question, then I'm gonna let you ask the question. Anybody else? What is the difference? What's the difference between called and chosen? You ain't talking to us all day. You've been hiding behind that camera. What's the difference between being called and chosen from your standpoint?
To do whatever it is.
Between being called and chosen.
All right. What else? Anybody else? What's the difference between being? You ain't talking to us all day. I'm good. I'm not gonna go away. I'm good with that.
I think called is when you're asked to or brought out to.
Okay.
I think chosen is when you're already there.
I'm not gonna go away. I'm good with that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, that's real good. And I put you on the spot.
You did.
For me, I had a different revelation. For me, the difference between being called and chosen is answering the call. For me, answering the call. That's pretty good. That's pretty good all day, right? That's real good. Sometimes we put you on the spot. I'm not going to answer for that. I want to talk about the difference for me. The difference between being called and being chosen is answering the call. If you're called to, for me, answer the call. Right? Phone ring all day, right? Sometimes we look at the phone ring. Go say no. Right? I'm not going to answer that. So what difference for me between being called and chosen is you didn't answer the phone call. Right? Something about called to. All right. Thank y'all for listening to me ramble for about 50 minutes. Really appreciate that. And again, I have a piece. So what is it in your lives that you called to do that you didn't get to answer? Any questions? Anybody has something? Nothing is off the table. I'll answer. Thank y'all for listening to me ramble for about 50 minutes. Really appreciate it. And again, I am humbled to be part of this program. That's a good question. Any questions? Anybody has? What I do now? Nothing is off the table. I'm going to answer as I get engagement. Any questions that you have? Human resources, any neighborhood services, that's okay first.
What you do in Orange County, is it similar to what you've done in the past?
That's a good question. That's actually a good question. So what I do now is, I'm the director of community engagement. Human resources reports to me. Neighborhood services reports to me. I work with workforce housing and nuisance management. And honestly, what all of that means is community. Everything I went through with my law enforcement career, and how we treat those folks, kind of prepared me for the next step. So to answer your question, yes. I mean, educationally wise, prepared, but the experience part, it just kind of brings everything together. And working with community, externally and internally. A lot of people forget that when we talk community is our team. And how we treat those folks and those people spill out to the streets and the service that we provide for external partners. It's a good question.
Chief, I have a dream. And I was 76 years old, a long time of thinking, and it stopped. I chose to walk away from it. Pretty decent, 25 years. But I started without going into teaching. But what I got, it never left my heart. It's like impossible. Now that I'm 76 years old, so big. I think sure. think we're still playing
Being able to basically bring
pretty decent. People think I'm like talented music and then start playing.
my favorite performers.
But what I've got in my heart is,
John Coltrane.
it's like impossible.
I was raised with
It's
jazz.
just so big, it's like we're not gonna share it. I'm not gonna share it.
Played with Ray Charles.
It's just being
You
able
want me
to
to respond to
basically.
that, or you want me to? Glaze over, don't say that. What you want? What you want? So, a couple of things come on.
Yeah. John Coltrane. I was raised with the jazz situation very much.
You said you want to use your music to say trends. What did they want me to respond to that? Glaze over, don't say that. What you want? So, right, a couple of things come on. Right? And so you said you wanted me to twist you and tell me if I am. You said it just seems to do you. Did you say that? Okay, so my follow-up question is, it's the same. Right? It's the same guy. So you said, these are your words, that's what the problem is. You said it just seems coming the first and only. You say that? Okay, so my follow-up question is, do you think at some point I'm gonna oh no, you asked. It's the same guy. Yeah. Of course I did. Where you from? But my point is what?
It's not too big for God.
Can you say it in your first Sunday in church? Can you say it?
It is not too good, too hard for God.
Okay.
It's not too big.
Okay. All right. So don't forget that. Don't forget that.
And answer calls.
Can you say it in your first Sunday church voice?
It is not too good, too hard for God. It's not too big.
All right. Don't forget that. Don't forget that.
And answer the call.
Answer the call.
I'm doing the best I can with what I have and where I'm at.
Have you written it down?
But it's wonderful. I'm
Keep walking.
enjoying it.
That's it. Keep walking. It's well done. Thank you.
From that flows out to you all the faith of God is to take place.
So the thing is,
Do you have time for
I'm good.
And
Yes, ma'am. It's Amazon. I'm going to my website. My website is so easy. It is KevinWaits.com. Just like my name, KELVIN.
Do you have time for
So I don't know where my
Yes, ma'am. Amazon.
found
My
this
website.
website
It's
is
so
sold
easy.
online. It's called
Just like my name,
Story.
KELVIN.
And my brother gave me a subscription. And what they do is it's more of a comment, what you were talking about, that you can answer. And so I don't know where my niece found at the end of the site, she talked about it again. It's called Story, and it was fully published. And my brother waiting on my subscription. And what they do is, it's just really, questions, that you can answer, and tell you, make you. And at the end of it, about, there are specific ones to actually get what was your most. And so I'm waiting on my birthday. And, it was, it's just really, really, interesting questions. Come up, make you, remember what you did. And so, and there are specific ones. I think one of them was, what was your most memorable answers on birthday on these questions? Well, growing up in South Carolina in the 50s, we didn't have blowout birthday parties like these these days. And so, and so it's been real interesting, me to do come up with, answers as to all these questions. I think one was something about maybe, a teacher or, just all those sorts of things. And so it's been real interesting, and you, of course, can, just go on their website and say, I want to do this subscription. It wasn't super expensive, and again, mine is given to me. But, I think, it will be real interesting to tell that story.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, no,
It takes a lot of vulnerability
sure.
to be able to
You missed, I talked about it.
tell
I
you.
gotta talk about it.
No,
But, and I don't mind reading that, so,
But that was the
for
time.
me,
And I'm okay with
even though I wrote
this.
my first book, I was in the process of writing it, I thought I was ready, you can't refuse me, I was ready.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, I just want to get my mind make sure, you missed, I talked about it, I kind of talked about it. That's all right, that's all right. But, and I don't mind recapping, so, for me, even though I wrote my first book, I was in the process of writing the book, I thought I was ready, on to the next. I went, my editor said, because I wrote, and I talked about a situation, and I was a dad, and my brother, my dad started one Sunday morning. My dad, calm down, calm down, I said, I'm just like, So I wrote the book, that's what I actually told him, to say you. And my editor said, cannot tell the story without telling the She said, something, yes, I don't know what it is. And I was ashamed of the fact that one day I said, well, 2 miles down the road, and I said, well, that's other people, and he said, between two people, and he do something. And that was then you would left out, and you won't mind. When she told me, I say, I remember getting that first, cannot out of the jail. I couldn't open it. You know what I'm saying? When you get to that point, you know that I couldn't open. I was so, because when you let some people open up and record in there, and police are just, once you get it in there, it's like, then you will know, you won't mind. It was still, I remember getting that first, you will know, after you get to that point where I couldn't open it and tell it, it all. You remember? I said, hey, open this. I couldn't open it. I was so, because you open up and it ran out of film.
No.
Okay.
I got 274 minutes on each camera. All right. So my question to you is, given the history between African Americans and the United States Police, police enforcement, police department, has there ever been a time in your career in law enforcement that you had to quit being a black man before being a police officer and vice versa? Has there ever been a time where you had to quit being a police officer in front of being a black man?
So
The United States Police,
No.
police enforcement, police department. Has there
Because I
ever
would
been a
often tell
time
people,
in your career in law
there's
enforcement
a
that
term
you
in law
had to
enforcement
quit
called
being a black man before being a police officer and vice versa?
I would
Has
often
there ever
tell
been a time where you had to quit being a police officer in front of being a black man?
I am so proud of the culture, I'm proud of where I come from. Because I would often also in law enforcement, there's a term in my first blue line, right? There's a term. Yeah, and so I understood and still today, the struggles, the challenges between the community and not trusting law enforcement. Also, and honestly, especially at the first point, reporters would be around and everybody wants to do police reform, defund the police. What are police going to do? My answer is always, listen, we need to do a better job of listening. The challenges, we get a 911 call, we show up, we want to fix things, we want to tell people what to do. But a lot of times, especially at the we don't listen. Especially reporters will be around and everybody was community. So that was always my struggle. That's a good question because even since leaving law enforcement, my answer was always I helped start a group Coastal Carolina University. It's now on campus. Show up, we want to fix things, and tell people to change. It's a club of students who have desire, minorities, women, who have desire to see all law enforcement. And so, the thinking behind it is, okay, we know we need to fix this industry, we help you think better. What do you want to see? Coastal Carolina, and so there's a young 5-year called again, Coastal Carolina University's campus. It's about 15 students. Still trying to do that.
Yes, you did.
And so,
Anybody behind it? Okay. You want to ask me something? Yeah, you. You want to ask me a question?
I'm just fascinated by
Official students, they're trying to be.
Anybody else? They ask you a question? Thank you. Anybody? Georgetown Library, State Museum. You want to ask me something? Dr. Danny. I do have some books for sale, or even if you don't want to buy a book, anybody else? Put you with a book cover? We can do that, but I do have some books for sale, and I can send that to the library, State Museum.
What form of payment is that for your book?
No more questions? Good. I do have some books for sale, or even if you don't want to buy a book, you just want to take a cool picture with the book cover. We can do that, but I do have some books for sale, and I'll be sitting back there and,
What form of payment do you set for your book today?
cash or debit card.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All right, no more questions? We good? All right, thank y'all.